Crack! Oh, savior of the universe. Do do do.
Welcome to the Swine Brothers Show, episode 1666 for the 26th, it's a lot of 6th of February 2019. You can get in contact with us at Cosmicgodsdie at gmail.com. Facebook is Swine Brothers and Twitter is SwineBro666. I am your host, Ellie Littlewood, and the co host is.
I am the Jim. I thinks I am scum.
Well, Jim's guilty because it's the way he smiled, dude.
Yes, I'm always guilty because I smile way too much.
If you know where that's from, that is one of my favorite lines ever.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just hanging out here, doing our thing, drinking energy drinks, and we thought we'd bring some peace, love, and hatred to all.
Devil worshippers take responsibility for 8 church fires.
This is the interview that started it all in the black metal circles.
Yes, I'm waiting for the moral panic to start for something that happened in 1993. People
Yes,
acting like it just happened yesterday because it's the first time they heard about it.
because that fucking movie.
Uh-huh.
You know,
I think you should take a shot every time you see a historical inaccuracy. If you're not dead by the end, then you know shit.
yeah, I was sitting there basically just uh I could make a list of everything that's inaccurate. And this is just the things I know as someone who wasn't there. No telling what Fenris or Varg could say. But
Oh god.
there is one scene that I love, which is when Varg is stabbing Euronymous as Euronymous is attempting to flee the apartment. Varg, for some random reason, makes chocolate milk. Do you think that actually happened? I'm gonna kill someone that makes some chocolate milk.
Out of his bones. Wait, no, I can't use his bones. Yeah, fuck it. Hershey's will work.
Yes. So this is, and yes, people are freaking out because now that Lords of Chaos is out, they're actually seeing this. And oh my God, these people actually did this, and Faust, is still getting shit for a murder he did 27 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I found this in the book Lords of Chaos. It's the Appendix A. It's a translation of the interview Varg gave. Contrary to what the movie said, he gave it because Euronymous thought that they needed more press for his record store, and so this is the interview, English translated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We are behind all church fires in Norway. It started with Fantoft Stave Church, and we're not stopping now. From an anonymous youth from Bergen, about 20 years old, in
Which is
1993.
which is clearly Varg Vikernes, by the way,
Yeah.
or Count Grishnak.
Our intention is to spread fear and devilry, fear of the power of darkness. That is why we are telling this to Bergen's Tenede, BT.
Yes.
It started with Fantoft Stave Church, and we're not stopping with the 8 church fires so far.
Yes, this is January '93.
Yeah. Mm. The person behind these words is an anonymous man from Bergen, about 20 years of age. By way of 2 youths that knew him, BT was able to meet him at nighttime in his apartment in the southern part of the city. Call us what you want. We worship the devil, but prefer not to use the word Satan. The name has been made ridiculous by foolish groups of posers, morons who think they are tough.
Like the
They're,
Church of Satan.
oh yeah, they're a joke. They're like Fred Rogers. God, trying to out Christian the Christians. The youth's story is cruel and perhaps not immediately believable. However, he can give details about several of the fires. Among the details is information which has not been made public, information that BT had confirmed by police and the Gates Institute, the Forensic Science Institute, yesterday. Therefore, much indicates that BT's interviewee is telling the truth. In that case, there are groups in Norway that the public needs to take very seriously. So far, it just sounds like some kid shitting on everything.
Right? it's
Mm.
it's kind of interesting to think that 7 months later, the kid shitting on everything would stab someone through the freaking skull, in his own words.
Yeah. He hates the light. It is completely dark in the halls while we ascend to his loft apartment at the hour of midnight. We have to have the ceremony going at midnight.
Like this show.
Mhm. We have also been given the message that the youth is armed in case you have contacted the police. Dun dun dun. The apartment is clearly not the residence of an ordinary person. It is either just an overgrown kid who finds Nazi paraphernalia, weapons, and satanic symbols exciting, or BT's reporters have come into a world few people understand.
Well, both.
Yeah.
It can't be both.
The windows are completely covered by carpets. I hate the daylight, he explains.
Me too.
The thin, long haired creature that introduces himself with an unintelligible name.
Count Grishnak or Gravy Grishnak.
Count Grishnak.
That's a good name.
We quickly get the feeling that the youth simply likes excitement. It is difficult for us to grasp that he can be speaking the truth. Later, we check the details he gives us about the church fires. One of the investigators of the fires tells us that he finds youth's description of torching of the Asane church to be credible. At the same time, Associate Professor Eng Moreld at the Gates Institute confirms information about the burned rabbit that was found by the Fantoft Stave Church.
He didn't actually burn all of them. Some were burnt by a group in a more rural part of Norway, which formed another black metal band. But yes, all the churches that were burned by black metal kids. It just always wasn't Varg and Yorn from Hades and the like.
We caught a rabbit by the mountain. It was much more laborious than burning down the church. By the church, we decapitated the now dead rabbit. We laid the body on the church steps. The head was laid on the ground next to it. The point was to spread more sorrow. Our hope was that the innocent rabbit would be found, says the youth. A symbol of goodness to be burned on the fire. That's such a thing a kid would say.
Isn't it though?
Mm-hmm. It had to be a symbol of goodness to be burned on the fire.
I mean, one of the things that the Lords of Chaos strove to do was portray these uh, black metal heads as the kids that in all truth they were. But
Yeah,
I don't think they need to. I mean, just read this. I mean, yeah, they sound like fun, cool kids, but they sound like kids nonetheless.
yeah.
I think this portrays them quite nicely without Jonas Ackerlund making inaccuracies.
Yeah. Associate Professor Morold confirmed to BT yesterday that the rabbit carcass which was found was headless. He said that he says this is information that has not been made public before. I don't even think the police knew it, he said. He he cannot determine whether the head was cut or burned off the body. Our examinations cannot determine this.
Damn.
The devil worshiper tells us that there was only one man that set fire to this church. He wanted to do it himself. He didn't want to share the sacrifice with anyone.
I want to do it myself. Screw you.
I'm making the sacrifice to my pagan lords, which predate this site. Let it return as it once was.
I mean, and yeah, I get the people who say that, well, we've evolved into civilized things. We don't, we don't have to burn down churches, but I'm still indifferent about it. Fuck it. I can't see the church. I mean, it's a beautiful piece of architecture. You're really gonna win a blind man over with that argument? Really? It's beautiful. Okay.
A church that had been revered for 800 years was something really big for us and had more power. The day itself was carefully planned. The eve of Pentecost, 1992, revealed the satanic symbol 666.
The number of the beast.
The arson took place on the 6th day of the 6th month at 6 o'clock.
What he also, what he said later on was also that on the 6th of June, Vikings raiders came down from Scandinavia to Lindisfarne in Britain, and that's more why he did it. But I still say it's certain, I still say there's some rationalization there with Varg claiming that he's no longer a Satanist, which you can clearly tell in this thing that he is.
Mm-hmm.
But Varg likes to. I mean, I agree with him on some things, but I still think he likes to sort of openly employ history as he, you know.
Mm-hmm. The intention was that our contacts all over Norway should do the same with other churches at exactly the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But the others chickened out.
Yes.
They let it remain just talk. Luckily, their cowardice led us to gaining more power over them. Therefore, they became easier to manipulate later.
He was found not guilty of burning down the church, but everyone knows he did. In a funnier thing, the smoldering remains of the church were the album cover of a Burzum EP, which means the title means ashes, and they even printed up lighters with the burned church on them. I want one.
That's fucking nice.
I want one.
He gives a detailed description of how the church was ignited. The information corresponds with the police investigation of the fire. We had been there for a long while before the arsonists stepped into the open hall on the east side of the church. We had planned to assault the first person that came through the forest. We knew that students, because it's a university town, often walk that way. Unfortunately, no one came. Aw, no one to assault.
I wanted to kill someone and nobody came.
Yeah, it would have had greater effect to sacrifice a dead student than a rabbit.
Yes, it would have.
He neither laughs nor looks sad. The brutal sentences just keep coming. The devil worshiper talks in we form. He says there are 6 persons that have participated in the 8 church fires in Norway. Even if he does not want to confirm it, BT gets the impression that he was himself present when a sane church was burned to the ground the night before Christmas Eve. That a sane church was ignited the night before Christmas Eve was just a coincidence. The first fire was not planned. The same church went up in flames because the word peaceful was said on TV.
You said peaceful. Die.
It's fucking hilarious. Oh my god, such idiocy. That's kids. That is so kids. You said peaceful, now die.
Yeah, but
Your church is going away.
how many people actually will do it? I mean, so I know kids. I thought like that, but how many? I kind of respect them for doing it.
That's like, complete antisocial off the scale. That's more antisocial than I was. I did some pretty sick shit.
You didn't burn down a church because someone said peaceful.
Yeah. I mean, fuck. I mean, I committed no crimes for which the statute of limitations did not already expire at least 10 years ago. In some cases, 20.
Well, yeah, Varg did serve 16 years in prison. Mind you, I think most of that was for killing Euronymous, which actually, I think most of it was for the church burnings. Actually, he should have only served about 5 years for killing Euronymous.
I mean,
Because
most I did was, let's see, shoplifting, vandalism, and I guess you could say, some of the concoctions we made might have been like, some sort of pyrotechnics charge or something. I don't know. But like,
that's how it works in Norway.
but we never burnt down anyone's property
I
aside
mean,
from our own toys.
they actually give people who've killed a second chance. Oh my god, isn't that like amazing to contemplate? That like you can fuck up when you're 20 years old and get a chance to like not fuck up.
Well, forgiveness was one of the core values ushering in the whole entire enlightenment thing. And it's funny how many people want to be as unforgiving as possible to everything at all times these days.
Well,
Not
it's
realizing, if you can forgive someone that actually attempts to change their course in life, that usually reinforces the good behavior. If you don't forgive them and you just keep bashing them, then that's only going to reinforce the bad behavior, and something even worse is going to happen next time.
just interesting because if you read Lords of Chaos and they talk about all the murders that happened, and Faust got a couple years, Varg, of course, got 16 years or whatever. Um, the guy from Absurd got a couple years. He got more time for trying to skip bail and fleeing the country, but he only got a couple years for killing a kid when he was in high school. And then you read the American section. They killed like one kid and blew up a couple buildings and death penalty.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wait, but they killed one guy and they blew up a couple buildings and you're gonna kill him?
We got so irately mad at all the righteousness in society. A less intelligent person was utilized. He came with one of us, tried to get into the church through the windows. That didn't work, even with an axe. The door, however, gave quickly to the axe blows.
That was Yorn from Hades/Hades Almighty, who the story goes was so pissed that Varg called him a less intelligent person that he ratted on him to the police.
BT's source tells that the two doused gasoline on the altar and on a Jesus figure. If the church didn't go up in flames, at least Jesus would burn, he claims. That psalm books were torn up and piled up against the walls.
Hey,
Under the
I accidentally kicked Jesus' head off, so there you go.
Well, there was a point back during my party years where, like, we found this really old Bible in, like, one of the uppity bitches' houses, and, like, we cut out every chapter 4, verse 20 we could find, and rolled it up into joints and smoked it. So we got high off of Bible joints.
I never did
with
that.
weed in between.
They did roll joints on 7 inches, though. Records.
Yeah.
Records.
The Bible was our rolling paper. Mm-hmm. We got extra holy inside our lungs. Maybe
There is
that's why I'm not dead yet. I
there was a
smoked enough Bible passages that my lungs are blessed.
there was a band who actually believed what was it? He was a minister and he believed that marijuana was holy plant and he gave out joints in all of his demo tapes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Under the church tower, they poured extra amounts of gasoline. It didn't take many matches before the whole church was in flames. After a few seconds, the church bells started tolling. Oh my God, that would have been like, oh my God.
just
I'm just imagining being one of the perps here. And like, you just set this fire for your great grand cause. And like, whatever bullshit, but like, you're a kid, so you believe it, and then all of a sudden, bang, bang. Yes, we have been blessed by Satan, for the bells have tolled for thee.
Picture the sound of a burning church, and then the bell starts tolling.
It would have been glorious.
Burn, 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 bang! Oh, I would become a well. I already am a Satanist. I would become a more Satanist person.
The fire engines were there after 2 or 3 minutes. We were nearby. The descriptions of us in the press were almost accurate. Almost. The poor sucker that was called in for questioning had nothing to do with us. Grins the youth. The smile quickly stiffens. It's not good for us to laugh. We have nothing to laugh at in this laughable society. What? What? We have nothing to laugh at in this laughable. That's such a kid thing to say.
I mean, and Vikernes is open about the fact that they were kids and that they said some stupid things. But see, that's the thing with Lords of Chaos is trying to, oh, they're just kids. Well, all you need to do is read this interview, and you can tell they're just kids.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
But if you play it up too much, then it's just going to come off as poserish bullshit.
which it does, and you're going to watch that fucking movie. You're not getting off the hook. If I have to
All
suffer,
right.
if I have to suffer, you have to suffer.
You want to have some fun? Let's get
No,
into some.
no. Wait. You asked me a question.
Yeah.
No, fun is stupid and fucking poserish. No trend, no mosh, no core, no fun.
Cast protection from good.
Okay.
Let's get into some fake news.
We need Vikernes. I want to interview him just so you can babble on about D&D.
I don't know if I'd be able to babble that good. Stranded death metal band resorts to cannibalism before considering any other options.
I love this article. There was one other from this website that I loved, but oh, yes.
Touring death metal band Spoilation reportedly wasted little time before eating drummer Vic Walsh after their tour van broke down, failing to consider any other options for survival before doing so.
Oh fuck! It ran out of gas. Die!
Yeah. Wait, shouldn't we call us AAA? You're the poser then. We have to eat you. No!
Oh.
You weren't fucking there, man. We were desperate, claimed frontman Joel Weiss about the band's collective decision to overpower and consume their drummer. It was a fight for survival. The temperature was dipping into the low 50s, and there was a 15% chance of rain. What did everyone want us to do? Starve to death?
This is so Metalocalypse.
I know.
We're fucking dead, man.
Evidence found at the scene, however, indicated that the band's surviving members didn't even think of other options before killing, dismembering, and imbibing an unsuspecting Walsh. Their van broke down not a quarter mile past the sign for a Wendy's, McDonald's, and Bob Evans restaurant off the next exit, just a stretch down the road. A quarter mile to eat.
Hey,
I
hey,
love the way they make this sound. It's great.
hey, Jim. Quarter mile is a long way. I'm fat. I'm not walking that long way.
Plus the half a Subway cold cut combo, unopened package of beef jerky, and tiny and tray of gas station nachos were found inside the van. Doesn't look very good for their case either. The nacho sauce was still warm when we got there and everything.
We have food, but
We didn't consider any other options because we're just that metal. We ate our drummer.
but we've only been broken down for like 30 seconds.
If only this were real, man. That band would go down in history, even if their music was shit.
It. Do you remember the South Park episode where there's two ancillary characters and they're snowed in, and so for no obvious reason they decide to eat them?
Yeah.
What are you guys, diabetic?
Police confirmed that all members' phones were in proper working order, yet AAA or 911 were never called for roadside assistance.
They're too busy eating.
Fuck it, we're broke down. This sounds like our average D&D campaign. A minor inconvenience has occurred. Fuck it, he's eaten now. What?
I broke into a house. There's an old man there. Cannibal pit.
Yep. Further, a simple search of the band's purchase history revealed they'd bought a Ginsu knife set, a smokeless hibachi, and the book Ordeal by Hunger, The Story of the Donner Party, just before leaving for tour. Regardless of the evidence against them, members of the band stand by their decisions. I was more animal than man. I didn't know what I was doing. I'm just thinking back to the legit article we just read and how much this actually kind of sounds like that.
Well, Euronymous did claim it was a rumor, but he did claim that he ate a piece of Dead's brain. But later on, he went back on that, saying we were going to, but it had spoiled a little too much.
Oh, lovely.
The stories about him making skull necklaces are actually true. Morgan from Marduk says that he has one, and that it's something of a holy relic.
Guitarist A.J. Larson said, "Thank God I happened to have read instructions on how to play a human cadaver just last week for a song I was writing, or else we would have all been long dead by now."
This does sound like something.
Mm-hmm. Detectives now suspect that the opening song on Spoilation's newest album, titled "Let's Eat Vic," is likely more than mere coincidence.
Why did you guys call the song "Let's Eat Vic"? No reason. Now shut up. Why are you staring at me like that?
Punk choose your own adventure novel somehow always ends in 9-to-5 office job. Interactive storytelling fans were disappointed this week by a new choose your own adventure novel that promised the opportunity to see through the eyes of a punk, yet somehow always ended in a 9-to-5 office job.
Boy, isn't that true?
Punk Tales, a choose-your-own-adventure novel, is the shittiest interactive story I've ever experienced. Read a Tumblr post penned by @GayBookTrash.
Yeah,
I
well,
tried every single route in the book. I became the most famous hardcore drummer to ever live. I punched a police officer and went to jail for 3 years. And I tried to kill myself at a party by drowning in a kiddie pool filled with piss.
I, I think that's how Dave died, actually.
But even after I crashed my tour van and cannibalized my band members,
Here we go with that again.
I still ended up working at a computer solutions company in Dallas. I mean, that can't be right, right? Let's see. The hippies that were out in the 60s and 70s protesting all the big business are now big business.
Well, yeah. How many punk guys have I heard that were harder core than now for 3 or 4 years, and then they became
Corporate wage slaves.
as Joe Biafra likes to say, they got a computer job at a BMW.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's very common. Only a few people like Gigi Allen, and I mean, even most of the punk guys who are in bands have jobs because you're never gonna make fucking money from that. I mean, it's funny. People like Lamb of God, literally until 2004, they had day jobs. Guar, Dave Brocky, you think like Guar would be somewhat famous, right? As far as I know, Dave Brocky worked as a painter uh, on like job sites until his death. You know, um, and even the bands like Lamb of God, who you think are huge in the metal scene and have even lost Grammys, they don't have much money. I mean, they don't live in mansions or anything. So, yeah, it happens. I like drowning in a kiddie pool full of piss, though.
Yeah, that sounds like something to do.
That sounds like
I mean,
something.
fuck, if you look back at my life, even, I mean, I wasn't even in a band, but there were points where I could say, yeah, it was kind of like I lived like a rock star. One of the really, really underground ones with how much partying and shit we did. Dear God. That's fucking sheer chaos.
Mhm.
Whenever you're pissing out your attic window because the shitter's broken, and then you see the useless piece of shit who jacked people to get more drugs off of other dealers, walking underneath, and you aim your piss stream at him. This is how we partied.
It's
He
my.
came up and still bought drugs off me and hung out after being coated in piss. He bitched about who did it. None of us narked anyone out.
I was gonna ask, did he mention that? Did he?
He knew he was pissed on. He didn't know by who,
Uh,
and like no one fessed up to it. And he just bought his drugs and partied like nothing
it's
happened
always fun
after
to
he
piss people
complained.
off, like by doing something like that, but then not tell anyone. It's just like, who fucking pissed on me? Come
Yeah,
on!
who the fuck pissed on me? Come on, tell me you pissed on me. I don't know. I'm pretty fucked up right now. You want
It's
to buy some drugs?
especially, it's especially funny if everyone starts laughing.
Everyone just started laughing. There was no way to prove who did it.
And although I don't know that situation because I wasn't there, I've been in similar situations. Stop fucking laughing! It's not fucking funny.
Hmm. And after a while, he just gave up and bought drugs and forgot about it. While the
Uh,
choice to give Punk Tales only one ending is certainly a brave one, I began to lose interest after I drove to the business park next to Ruth Chris Steakhouse for the 17th time, said a book reviewer for Houston Happenings. after my 23rd attempt, I just cut out the last page and put whiteout over every direction that took me to page 124, just so I it just so I could end it on becoming a legend in the scene for throwing a chandelier at Prison Pete. I mean, just let me have this one for fuck's sake. Yeah, you can have that one, but then what happens when you still live? I mean, the only other option is to die before you hit that 9 to 5 job. And that's going to have to be like the hardest ending to achieve.
Well, you tried that and it didn't work.
I tried it and it didn't work. I was literally attempting suicide by partying myself to death. That was my fucking thoughts whenever I dropped out of college. Because at the time, I didn't think I dropped out of college. I blamed the world because I was young and stupid and didn't look through the eyes to see, oh, I just didn't show up to class. If I would have shown up to class, I might still be in college.
Yes, you've outlived dead by 21 years.
Yeah. So I tried partying myself to death, and that didn't work. So now I'm here, and I'm stuck making tacos at a gas station.
It probably
I
means
could have been a legend, but then I had to clean up my act for my kids. So, like,
there's still time to be a legend. People seem to love your stories, so
yeah.
in about 10 years, if you don't like, if your body just doesn't decide to like, screw this, I've been under enough fucking, I'm out of here. In about 10 years, be like, your kids don't fucking know.
We should probably start doing some e-begging if they like my stories that much. Pay me $5 a month.
I'm not fucking paying you.
I know, but we'll get some fans to pay us.
I don't have any money.
And I'll give you $2.50.
I'll give you my dinner from tonight. There. Fuck you.
The Punk Tales author, credited under the name Miss Terry, refuted the criticisms. I used to be the greatest fucking bassist the Austin hardcore scene had ever seen. Now I'm a fat piece of shit writing in some scholastic sweatshop pretending to be an old woman named Miss Terry. For anyone who thinks this kind of thing won't happen to them, just stay alive until you're 32, and then we'll talk. You'll see. You'll all see. I have to agree. Just stay alive long enough to where you can't party that much and your connections are all rusty, or you feel that you have to clean up your act because, kids. That's why I did it. I wanted to set a better example for my kids. And then see what it's like working at Walmart third shift. Stocking shelves and building bikes.
So did this article hit too close to home?
This is great. I love it. This is actual reality. This bit of fake news is exactly how it works, kids.
Yes, reality coming from, well, it's not fake news, it's joke news. There is a difference. Yes, reality comes from a joke news site, which is actually quite fun to read.
Oh, yeah. Nations wealthy and privileged gather to lecture nation on the evils of wealth and privilege. According to sources at the 91st Annual Academy Awards ceremony this evening, the nation's wealthy, privileged elite gather to lecture the nation on the horrendous evils of wealth and privilege.
You know what that fucker from Wheel of Fortune said? Whatever his name is? He said, well, to those of you who don't understand, award shows and why we have them, it's because we never get recognition. I'm like, if I got a tenth of the recognition you get, I wouldn't know what to do with it.
Exactly.
I retreated to my shell when people, I think I got 8 people asking me for, black metal recommendations. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? How dare you tell me that you don't get any recognition? Work your ass off for 166 episodes and get nothing in return. and then talk to me about not getting recognition. You fucking ratings. Oh,
Mhm.
so
The
yeah,
wealthiest 0.0000001% of the nation arrived at the exclusive walled-off high-security event in limos and luxury cars driven by servants in order to spend a few hours telling the nation's poor and middle-class citizens how they need to throw off the yoke of oppression put on them by the wealthy elite.
may I just say, as someone who lives in Los Angeles, I'm sorry.
This sounds exactly like the event people were watching. I don't even know what the hell the speeches were, but I know the speeches are always geared towards this unless you get that one rebel, that comes up and says, fuck you all, fuck you, and fuck you. None of you are cool. I don't
What it's
care.
like
Even
living
my friends aren't cool. Fuck you.
You know what it's like living in, even if it is sort of the not quite Los Angeles proper, but you know what it's like living in Los Angeles and having to. No, I'm not one of them. Because people who don't know LA think, oh, you must be a fucking celebrity.
It's the white privileged wealth hoarders that are ruining America, said one white privileged man whose net worth is estimated at 160 million. All you people in the cheap seats at home, you need to do better. America is just a terrible nation with no opportunities, said one woman who made 100 million wearing costumes and reading words someone else wrote off a page. We must stop the 1% from hoarding all the wealth. Upon being informed she was well within the 1%, she clarified that she was actually the 0.0000001% who are the problem.
Yeah, well, that's.
Unfortunately, it looks like the event will proceed as planned next year as well.
Unfortunately, it's harder to burn down the Academy Awards than it is to burn down a wooden church. Not that I'm advocating.
All right, let's go back to reality here.
That was
Even though
reality.
that was
That was
reality.
reality. What the fuck are you talking about? That was
Those are two
complete.
joke articles that were complete reality. Now let's go to the part of reality that is a complete joke.
Oh, my favorite kind.
CNN host unloads on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, warns about Democrats' rejection of facts.
Hey.
Someone's admitting that politicians are rejecting facts? Who would have thunk it?
I just want to know how boring her fucking childhood is. If she's like 29 and getting into Congress, good God. I don't think she stayed up late at night looking for old demos because,
Yeah.
gotta listen to more music, gotta listen to more music, gotta listen to more music. What's this? It's called Terrorizer. Ooh, I want it. I want it.
Mm.
It's music addiction, Jim.
He made sure to infuse his criticism with vague shots at the Republican Party, but CNN's Fareed Zakaria had a strong message for the Democratic Party and its new boss, Democratic Socialist Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, on his show Sunday. If Democrats continue to embrace feelings over facts and swerve further left, they're going to lead the country into a new dark age, quote unquote.
That would be fucking. I support that, not for any like good humane reasons, but you sort of understand why I support things like that. I just want to see music get better.
Yeah. It's refreshing to see the Democratic Party bubbling with new ideas, but its new thinking seems starkly different from the party's reform efforts of the past 3 decades. The wonky proposals of the Clinton Obama era were pragmatic and incremental and mixed market incentives with government action.
They
Today, we
were
have big,
they,
dramatic, stirring ideas, and that could be the problem.
they were half-hearted and didn't actually do anything. I mean, these ones I agree with some of them I don't agree with. I probably agree. You probably don't agree with any of them, and because you're
You want to know what I thought would be the world changer if everyone would just wake up and see it and it would lead to the promised land? What idea I had when I was a kid?
burning churches.
Legalize murder.
I
That's
Yeah,
what would lead to utopia because sit here and think about it. Right now, if the government uses force against you because you committed a crime, any crime, let's say you stole half a loaf of bread and they sentenced you to death. Well, there would be a million people out there protesting to overthrow the government over that unjust thing.
yeah.
However, if I stole a half a loaf of bread and the store owner killed me and it was legal to do so, then it would all fall down to what the community thought. And 9 times out of 10, if that store was still standing and he was able to sell that loaf of bread, he'd get away with it just because the community would value him too much and say, okay, well, that person deserved it for stealing a half loaf of bread. We love you. So, with that threat hovering over your head, knowing that if you fuck up in a minor way, that person could either slap you on the wrist or full bloody retaliate by murdering your entire family as you watched on in horror.
Of course, the offshoot is then you kill preemptively.
No, 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 wait. You're getting too far ahead.
I
You're
know
getting
I'm
to
getting
where
too far.
I debunked myself with that thing, but the whole thing is if you sit there and realize that this person coming to retaliate against you for any even the most minor wrong in such a severe manner, you'd watch your P's and Q's a bit more. And that's what led to society. Of course, you ruined it by saying the way I defeated myself to say that there wouldn't be one is the fact that, yeah, you could always just go out and kill them first. You fucking idiot.
That's the first thing on my mind, though. That's the best part. That was literally the first thing that came to my mind. Well, I just kill the guy and steal his stuff. Hey, I played too much D&D apparently.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it would lead to a
But you see,
utopia.
that's a big dramatic idea that obviously wouldn't work. And that's just one reason why it wouldn't work, he gave.
I
Other ones are the fact that, people that feared the fact that now that it's up to the mob to do them would automatically follow behind someone promising to have order restored, even if there was already order there, just, more on a subconscious level than one that's actually written down. They'd follow them to the ends of the earth, and something 10 times more tyrannical than anything we've ever seen would arise from the ashes as soon as that entire concept collapsed in a matter of minutes.
I'm still not saying it shouldn't be implemented.
But you see, it's just a wild, sweeping idea I had that would have led to purity and
Yeah.
consciousness that just would not work.
If only you had the power to actually try to implement that.
Oh God, I'm glad I didn't, because like I said, it would have been destroyed within moments of it happening.
Yeah, exactly. But I love it though. I'm gonna use that will be the cornerstone of the party of utter contempt. Legalize murder.
In the zeal to match the sweeping rhetoric of right-wing populism, Democrats are spinning out dramatic proposals, indeed, but proposals in which facts are sometimes misrepresented, numbers occasionally don't add up, and emotional appeal tends to trump actual political policy and analysis.
AKA politics, as it has been for the past 200, 300 years. Of course, these are just proposals. I mean, once they actually get into reality, they'll, you know,
The flat earthers say that if you go past Antarctica far enough, you'll reach the land of infinite resources. So, as long as you believe that the world is at least somewhat spherical, floating in space, you have to come to the hard realization that we have limited resources because no such promised land exists.
yeah,
And
agreed.
as long as we have limited resources, we gotta figure out a way to keep doling them out without, completely destroying the planet if we want there to be a next generation of the species.
I've already figured out the way, but I suggest they call me monster. It's called culling the population.
I'm saying, we could just leave things up to the market and, that would disperse it. Prices
Or
go up whenever resources get scarce. Prices go down whenever resources are plentiful.
or we could, do my thing and we'll have more resources.
Yes, calling the population's always a fun idea to entertain. Sadly, you'd be one of the ones called because you have a disability and provide nothing to society.
Well, actually, it all depends on how you make the rules, because I could I could make it so
So
that
you get the ball rolling, and either A, someone else would be the one to seize the power, or B, the moment you seize power, someone's plotting to kill you to take it for themselves.
oh, yeah, I played Democracy 3.
I mean, fuck, that's what happens with almost every socialist or communist nation. If you're not a dickhead enough to start executing everyone under you, you're either going to get plotted against
Not
or
even
you're
that.
already dead.
There are reports that Stalin was actually poisoned because the second in command was like, okay, you know what? He's planning another purge. I'm sick of this.
Plop, dead.
Yep. So there are no guarantees. There
Mhm.
are no guarantees. And yet North Korea. So all I have to do is create a North Korean style, thing, and I don't have that much time. So yeah.
You would be dead because
Yes.
you're too lazy to do it properly.
Yeah, and you're too lazy to do it. Probably, so I'd have you as my second in command. Come on, Jim. No, I don't feel. I'm tired.
I'm tired. Hey, does someone else want the reins? I'll just nod off and go into the sunset. I don't care. What? He then took direct aim at the future of the Democratic Party, AOC. One representative, AOC, was confronted recently by Anderson Cooper on 60 Minutes about an egregious misstatement about Pentagon spending. She responded, I think there's a lot of people out there more concerned about being precisely, factually, and semantically correct than about being morally right.
Yeah, because I don't believe in morals.
Look, man, my morals are more or less set on, the shit I was taught growing up. More or less. There's some gray area there, but that's because I'm insane.
Well, yeah, I've even made you stop and go, what? Mhm. Some like we have two different ideas about if we were struck by a fatal disease. You would have an orgy, I would spread it around and kill people.
Mm.
Because
But where was my point? Yeah, being morally correct. Being morally correct means, yeah, if you're really focused on that, there's a lot of people you have to kill because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be morally incorrect.
well, Tristan actually did advocate for that. Remember Tristan,
Mm-hmm.
our old commie
Mister
friend?
Mister Hippie Communist saying everything's going to be great. Like it leads you to the promised land. Yeah, he finally broke down and said, you know what? Anyone that doesn't agree with communism needs to die.
Yep, he actually did say that. I had to stop talking to him because I suddenly realized that he was completely worth the jail time, and so
Because at least you get your fucking facts correct, and all this other shit, you could at least spare more lives than kill because you realize that there's at least a use for them, even if you're a
isn't
cold-hearted son of a bitch.
I hate to Godwin here. I really do hate to Godwin because that's been the most overused thing. Isn't that sort of what like the Nazi tactic? Oh, who cares if the facts are incorrect as long as we get people on our side. Like I said, I hate to Godwin at this point, but
Mhm.
mm, Yeah, that's sort of creepy. Then again, she is like 30. I can't wait to see her in 20 years when she's completely reversed her position and gone like hard right because she's realized that politics is a game of compromise.
Or a complete shit show.
So you'll watch her in 20 years becoming. There are groups of Latino Nazis in, I think it's Orange County, I think it is. And one of my friends was like, "Wait, you're Mexicans and you're shouting Heil Hitler? How did this
Mhm.
work?"
Simple. People will do whatever it takes to belong.
Well, would you believe that the greatest proliferation of Nazi black metal is in Poland?
Yeah, I can believe it. We miss you.
Yes, even though Hitler thought that the Poles were inferior. No,
Yeah.
we're aliens because we said so.
Perhaps this casual attitudes towards facts explains the way she and many others on the left have misrepresented the deal that New York offered Amazon to bring the new headquarters there. I will say fuck Amazon. This is probably a net gain in the end, but how you got there was complete idiocy
There's
and
also
complete accident.
I must say there's also an attempt to basically pin the whole thing on her, which it wasn't even in her jurisdiction. So she actually had
Well,
little
on
to
the
do with
other
it.
hand, she was the most popular and prolific voice and
Yeah,
actually holding office at the damn rally. Yes, it wasn't in her office,
true.
but she
She
sat
she
there and
was
spoke to the protesters before they went out and
she
protested.
was pretty vocal about it. Scott's been losing his mind over this, and I'm just like, I still think it's a net gain.
Fucking shit. Amazon is a corporate welfare recipient. Fucking, they will go out there and smash any competition by
Oh,
just pulling the
completely.
strings on a couple lawmakers to make it so.
They're the modern day
They're going
blockbuster.
to attempt their best to monopolize everything, and we all know that monopolies are the worst thing for a fucking free market.
They're
Fuck Amazon.
the modern day blockbuster. Walmart. Walmart, was known for smashing the competition. So was Blockbuster. Was known
Mhm.
for basically having very, very aggressive business practices. I only
And
wish
not
that it
just aggressive business practices, but also lining the pockets of a couple politicians so that someone can say, "Yeah, your competitor is breaking some law I just made up 5 seconds ago.
I mean,
We'll just pass this FOSTA thing so we could take down any rivals' websites claiming they're pedophiles."
I wish Amazon wasn't so easy to use.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's um
Then he played another clip from the freshman congresswoman. If we were going to give away 3 billion for this deal, we could invest those 3 billion in our district ourselves. If we wanted to, we could hire out more teachers, we can fix our subways, we could put a lot of people to work for that money if we wanted to. This is the 3 billion rebate. Now, the way the rebate works, or discount or anything like that. Let's say I have $0 in my wallet, but I have a pound of weed. I would normally sell that pound of weed for $500, but I'm going to sell it to you for $450, giving you that $50 discount. But then you find someone that's going to sell it to you for even cheaper. You go there and you don't buy my weed.
yeah,
Do I now mysteriously have $50 in my pocket?
no. You
I
don't.
still have an empty wallet, correct? That's how the discount works. I discounted $50,
Yeah.
and if I didn't make the sale, then, I get no money. Versus, yeah, I would get $50 less with the discount, but I'd still be getting the
At least
450 if
you
you would have
got
bought it.
something from it.
Yeah.
And I got a pound of weed, which I've never seen weed in that amount before.
Uh, I've seen somewhere upwards of 100 pounds stuffed up a chimney.
Yeah. Usually we get like we got pencil joints most of the time. That's
You
pathetic.
poor soul, man. You should have been hang out with a real dealer like me back in the day. If you could
Well,
have time traveled 20 years, man, oh dear God,
I
You would
hung
have
out
met
with
some interesting people. I'm like, hold this and this and this. Oh my God! We're burying the blind kid under a mountain of weed. Fuck
oh,
this.
I hung out with dealers.
And then my dealer would be like, why are you doing this with my weed? And I'm like, because I want to bury the blind kid in weed. He can't see it, but he must know.
I hung out with dealers, just not weed dealers, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Or at least dealers that had that much money.
Yeah, but I've
So I could
seen.
not invest that $50 I discounted you in anything because I had no money in my wallet to begin with.
Yes, I have seen mountains of white powder though.
I mean, it's literally just that simple. And she doesn't get that concept.
Well, it'll be fun to watch her ideals slowly disappear, or she'll just go completely batshit, acts crazy, and start murdering people.
But as Mayor Bill de Blasio explained, this was a deal that was going to bring 27 billion in revenue to the state and city for things like public education, mass transit, affordable housing, and that 3 billion would go back in tax incentives was the only other way to getting jobs there and getting revenue. The money's not just sitting there, as I just explained.
The people I find creepy are the ones who worship her. People even call her my goddess. It's like, yeah, okay. Why would you want to worship a politician? I mean, even the few I've liked, I hold in utter contempt.
Just how much like that last article does this sound already? And that was the joke article.
Oh, yeah.
This is the real one.
But I mean, even the ones you like, you basically have to shove the blowtorch up the ass, and force them to do things. You can't just sit back and let them make the decisions for you. Sadly, humans don't understand this fact.
Mhm.
And that's why I still say that if religion was outlawed, they would find something else to worship.
Yes.
Because,
In fact, with so many people coming up and just being irreligious at minimum, they're worshiping political ideologies, which is fucking horrible
or
because they're
science,
a bit more modern and rigid and
yes.
because like the ancient religions have a lot of things that happened that no longer apply because we discovered new things, have new technology that did not exist back then. So you're able to get a general sense of what to do, and you don't have to follow it specifically because it's impossible to follow it specifically.
How many people worshipped Obama?
Hmm. Oh dear God, the news media was really good at that too. Fuck, I can't tell you how many times someone say you can't critique him or else you're a racist. And hell, anytime a black man spoke up against fucking Obama, like you would hear the applause from like all the white co-workers just because they knew they couldn't do it.
I mean, yeah, it was, ridiculous. And so, yeah,
Yeah, that's how stupid it was. It's God. And of
rather
course, you got people worshiping Trump, but you don't hear them as much in the news. They like to, well, you hear about them more in the news,
I
but
hear
you don't
them on
actually
Twitter.
hear them as like the actual voice of the news.
I hear them on Twitter and on Varg's YouTube account. They are fucking crazy, man.
Yeah.
I love
Just
them.
as crazy as the Obama
Oh
worshippers.
yeah, just as crazy. But yeah, it's they seem crazier because you get to hear them more in person, whereas and
Mhm.
so but it's fun. Read Varg's YouTube account, YouTube comments, and it is amazing.
The host then called out the irresponsibility of those Democrats calling for Medicare for all, or consider the race by prominent Democrats to embrace Medicare for all, he said. A variety of expert studies have estimated that the total increase in government spending would be between about 2.5 and 3 trillion a year. Can you say defaulted on all our loans instantaneously? bankrupting the entire nation? I can. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. For a few of the many proposals being floated around would likely raise anything close to that in revenue. And if a Herculean effort was made to raise revenue for Medicare for all, there would be few easy avenues to fund any of the ambitious proposals on the new Democratic wish list. Yeah, that's because we have limited resources, and money is one of the ways that we fucking, you know, dole it out. Well, yeah.
Of course, if we had this like every other major country does, we wouldn't have to worry about the 3 trillion. But hey,
Well, there's ones where it's starting to default. I think it was Greece had some similar
well,
shit
Greece
default
has
on them.
problems, and the political corruption in Greece is off the fucking map.
Yeah, well, the more things you turn over to the government, the greater the corruption the government will have.
The only thing I'm honestly for is the single payer healthcare. That's something. That's one of the only things I'm for. I don't give a shit about this whole green thing or whatever, but I want to be able to like go to a hospital and
Yeah,
not.
but that's uh, I say that's still gonna fucking bankrupt us quicker than shit. If
Well,
we start to going down that path, it's just a huge mess that we're not going to be able to fund without completely crippling the economy. Because first thing you're going to want to do is fucking raise taxes. Now you can't raise taxes off the poor because that'll just kill them and piss them off. And now the people that you say you're doing this for will hate you. The middle class will fucking get pissed off and not vote for you if you raise the taxes on them. So you got to do it to the billionaires. But the billionaires are just going to move out of the country and fucking export all the jobs.
yeah, well,
So then again, you're still getting fucked. You're not making the taxes you need to because there's not enough going into the economy. And technically, lowering taxes is the best way to actually get more tax revenue, because if you can get money to change hands on the books more frequently than it already does, that brings in more money because there's more higher number of transactions for a lower amount equals more money than fewer transactions at a higher amount.
I was just remembering. Yeah, it's
I
complicated.
mean, sit there. I mean, just sit there and think. You break up your ounce into eighths for a reason, correct? You sell your eighths for 15 to 25 bucks depending upon grade, and you're let's say 15 bucks. It's that grade, okay? Which
Ditchweed.
and
Uh,
then but then you sell your quarters for 25 instead of 30 because you're selling more of it at a clip.
and
And
then more
that's just,
people are gonna buy.
you make more money just selling them all as eighths than you would, upping it.
Well, yeah, it's the same with
And
Henry
similar,
Ford.
it's a similar thing with taxes. The more transactions you have at the lower rate, the more money you
Well,
make.
you can only Henry Ford. Every time he lowered the price, the sales skyrocketed, and he made more money of
Hmm.
the Model T. Of course, saying that, I always got my weed for free because I want to see what the blind kid says when he's high.
Like I said, if you would have known me back in the day, it's like I'm going to feed him enough acid so he can actually see.
I think the most I ever paid was like $5.
You're a pussy, man. Oh God.
Well, I paid because I got a discount. Because, like I
Yeah.
said, I want to hear what the blind man has to say when he's high. What I said when I was high was, I wonder what killing someone would be like. I don't want to hear what the blind man says anymore.
While he stressed that he believes providing universal health care is an important moral goal, Zachariah said the complexity of the U.S. system makes it likely impossible to attain without severe disruption of the economy. Well, the first thing you would have to really do is get the economy booming beyond what it is. And I hear it's doing a lot better now. I'm actually getting more job applications out to places that are desperate for employees. And I've been called to a couple interviews. They didn't pick me up because there were other applicants looking for it. And I'm 40. They want to get someone that's a bit more able-bodied. Fuckers.
Someone whose back won't crack and they'll have flashbacks.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Wait, Jim, you're supposed to be stacking the boxes in the warehouse. You're running around in your underwear screaming about panthers.
Pallet 4 of 6 is attacking me.
Jesus Christ. Well, that's my favorite story. What's the worst time you have to have an LSD flashback when you're interviewing for the military?
The only realistic version, he said, is basically Obamacare with a real mandate, but he noted that those now steering the Democrats would likely dismiss that along with other incremental policies of the past. You know, actual compromises instead of steamrolling ahead, doubling down. You know, I disagree with it. You know, if that's something you want, you have to learn how to compromise. Otherwise, it's just going to lead to something far worse.
And you have to take it slow and incrementally step, and maybe one day you can get it. Or you can steamroll, see what happens, and just embrace the chaos.
Yes,
But
if you like to watch people revolting in the streets, if you like the yellow vests, because I actually do,
yeah,
I support that shit. I want to see another French Revolution.
yeah, but people get
But I
all
also support the sentiment. You know, they're trying to do it peacefully, fine, dandy. But you know, they're
about
not going to want to. The government's not going to want to step down.
yeah, but
It's more than likely going to have to either end in violence or the protests will disperse.
think about this though. It'll be a French Revolution, but televised.
Yes, I
So we
want
can
the beheadings televised.
best damn reality show on TV ever.
Mhm.
Tonight on American Beheadings.
Dun, 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 dun. As for the wealth tax pushed by Elizabeth Warren and others, Zachariah pointed out that there is a reason that 9 of the 12 countries that have imposed them decided to repeal them in the last 25 years. They massively destroyed economic activity, often incentivizing people to hide assets, devalue them, and create dummy corporations. Any loophole you could find to fucking not pay taxes at all versus, the tax rate's so small, I don't give a shit. And now you got millions more fucking contributions to it than, having none.
This is why we need a North Korea style dictatorship with me in charge. You'll be my seeing eye, mutant.
Yeah, and I would be filling out the paperwork to avoid some of that shit.
Yeah, well, I need you, but and you need me because no one's gonna vote for you. But I'm young and fucking vibrant or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm young, vibrant, tall, and blonde haired.
After presenting more reasonable tax raising proposals, the host returned to AOC, whose 60 Minutes comments he compared to Newt Gingrich, saying in 2016 that as a political analyst, he'll go with how people feel over the facts.
Oh yeah, and that's been political shit for years. That's nothing new. It's just that people are realizing it's happening rather than being fucking asleep.
We already have one major political party that now routinely twists facts, disregards evidence, ignores serious policy analysis, and just makes stuff up to appeal to people's emotions and prejudices. If the
Oh,
Democrats now start moving along this path as well, they have been. They both have been. You haven't been. You're cheerleading. They're both
alternative facts,
there.
people. My favorite kind of facts, the ones that are alternative. That was one of Trump's best buzzwords, alternative facts.
Yes, American politics will truly descend into a new dark age.
It already is. It's already a fucking comic book,
Hmm.
except without the super weapons. Where's my goddamn super weapons?
Lieutenant Governor announced his first stops in our area, which is the Harrisburg area, for a recreational marijuana listening tour. Hmm.
Hey.
The lieutenant governor is coming to the area to hear what people think of legalizing recreational marijuana in Pennsylvania. Do it. Do it now.
Well, do you really want to do it? Think about all the poor drug dealers who'll be out of a job.
Yeah, I know that's going to be the sad thing. Because there's no feeling better than going up to like that crusty old apartment and they're just playing the fucking most rancid scum punk around as you're sitting there. It's like, ah. I remember back in the day, people would have to come up and start listening to death metal in my attic if they wanted to buy some drugs off me. With
In
all
truth,
those, with all those newspaper clippings from the Weekly World News tabloid, babies smuggled inside U.S. inside
you'll still probably have a black
watermelons, and
market
man
of
makes millions renting boxes to the homeless.
you'll still probably have a black market at least for a while because you'll have people who don't want to. There's a blog I follow for music because
Hmm.
and they're based in Canada. Um, and he was saying Canada legalized marijuana, but it's a scam because you pay taxes and too much. So support the black market.
Awesome.
So there'll still be people supporting the black market, but that'll probably die out. I mean, yeah, okay, people still make moonshine, but you don't. I don't know anyone in California who makes fucking bootleg whiskey. So
You'll find it more common around here.
oh well, fuck, I'm going. I've always wanted to taste all the. I mean, I've tasted the legal stuff, which is really good. You know, the legal moonshine.
Oh my god.
Oh,
It, depending upon who makes it, it'll either come down so harsh that everything burns, it burns, and then burns some more, or it goes down so smooth you don't realize you're drinking 180 proof.
it, I'm gonna fucking go. Yeah, I can. It's funny because I know people who hate whiskey. I can drink a whole jar of moonshine, and I love it. I don't know. I like the taste. It's it's sort of gasoline but
Yeah.
I like it.
Pennsylvania Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman is stopping in each county in the Commonwealth to hear what people have to say on the idea of legal cannabis.
Legal cannibalism. No cannabis. No stop.
Fetterman began his statewide listening tour in the last couple weeks, and now the lieutenant governor's office has announced the first 3 stops in our area. And that lists the area. Nowhere around me yet, but we'll get there. Visits to the remaining counties in our area have not been announced yet. The public is encouraged to attend and share opinions both for and against. I'm for.
Big serious talk here,
Hmm.
Jim. If he does plan to stop nearby where you are, I'd go to that thing and maybe hold up a certain sign with a certain logo of a certain YouTube show.
Yeah.
It fucking
I
public.
might do that.
I would honestly. If marijuana weren't about to be legalized or slash is legalized here, I would.
Those who cannot attend are still able to submit on comments online. Pennsylvania legalized medical marijuana nearly 2 years ago, but a proposed bill in Harrisburg would make adult recreational use legal. It should.
Yeah,
Do it now.
just don't do any before the show. Hi, dudes.
So-called atheist doesn't even barge into churches screaming, "You're all brainwashed fools."
I know people who actually do that, so.
Yeah.
And I know people who burn down churches because the word peace was said. Oh, peaceful.
You said peaceful. Die.
God, I love that. I fully support those.
Casting serious doubts over his commitment, self-professed atheist Edward Horvath came under intense scrutiny Monday after sources revealed that despite ample opportunities, he has never once barged into a local church screaming that all parishioners are all brainwashed fools.
I know.
This guy fancies himself some kind of new, true non-believer. But I bet my imaginary soul he's never snatched a Bible out of a stranger's hand and ripped out the pages one by one,
Before
says
we
it.
met, I was heavily into the atheist community because I was an atheist and was like, I want to talk to more people of my kind. And that's all I got were a bunch of anti theists. And I even saw atheists going, "You guys are fucking nuts." And then around the time we met, I got reintroduced to the occult and that sort of. And then I got called a brainwashed sheep by former best friend to atheists.
Mhm.
Welcome to yes, we're best friends unless you disbelieve in something.
Also, a self professed atheist, in regard to the surprisingly non confrontational 32-year-old, noting that Horvath has never once stood up atop a pew during Sunday Mass screaming that the whole charade was a colossal lie. He might pay lip service to atheism, but does he regularly accuse people who are wearing crucifixes in public for glorifying the torture of a Jewish carpenter, who, by the way, may not have ever existed? Mhm. Has he ever thrown communion wine onto the floor and called those receiving it deluded lotus eaters?
I know someone
No.
who mean wine on the floor. He said, "This is watered down shit." To which everyone said, what?
That's moldy fucking juice. That's all it is. It was moldy fruit juice.
Yeah,
You set it up on the shelf. You didn't ferment it. It got moldy. What the fuck?
there was a little bit of alcohol in it, but it was like fucking 7 Up. 7 Up had, has a little bit of alcohol in it.
No. We can never rely on this guy to storm into a packed worship service and dare the congregation's imaginary God to strike him down while calling them all pawns in this sick little game of faith.
Yeah,
At
well,
press time, several
well,
members of the atheist community said they were done with Horvath after photographs came to light showing him smiling in a church during his brother's wedding ceremony.
there was another side of the really peaceful atheists who, when someone was killed over in a parking lot who turned out to be an atheist, they literally cried because they couldn't imagine a fellow atheist doing something like this.
God.
And wait, you agree on like one thing?
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Hell, even Christians can't agree on one thing.
Satanists. You know how many anti-cosmic Satanists there are? I know of 3, and one's dead.
Yeah.
So, anti-cosmic Satanism is like a subsect of a fucking subsect of a anti-cosmic Satanism is hard is I'm gonna say hardcore, but it's esoteric enough that even Luciferian Satanists go, "What the fuck?" So yeah, but if a Satanist does something, I'm not gonna start crying because fuck the Satanic Temple too.
All right. Let's move on to something more serious, but also kind of happy.
Ooh, happy.
Hungary to commemorate victims of communism on February 25th.
Okay.
Hungarians will hold commemorations across the country in memory of the victims of communism on Monday. The State Secretary for International Communications and Relations told MTI.
Um, it's interesting reading, books about death metal and black metal and all that, and listening to people in Poland and the Czech Republic in the '80s talking about how they had to, play for censorship boards. Basically, they would change the lyrics. In a song called, I think it was like "One with Satan." They called it, "We Are the Future" or something. And
Oh,
and
God.
the best part is they gave them a list of songs they could or could not play, but they didn't know what songs it was. They submitted the lyrics or whatever, but they didn't know what songs it was because to them all the music sounds the same or. So what they would do, they just wouldn't announce it. And and he said, I spent the rest of the club thinking, the rest of the show thinking, we're gonna get arrested, we're gonna get arrested, we're gonna get arrested, because they would do that.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's interesting just hearing about, and I told you about fucking when the wall came down and the grindcore band Fear of God, which is obscure even for grindcore stuff, bands, mainly because their records haven't always been in print. But they played for like 20,000 people. Them and Anal Cunt and Gigi Allen was on mainstream radio. I hear
uh-huh.
because death and thrash metal, because any sort of Western music was wow.
Wow, this is so different than the fucking monotone, idiotic shit that our government crammed down our throats.
I mean, because you could get that stuff bootlegged, but you don't first, or you can either get it bootlegged or you had to smuggle it across the border. And if it's bootlegged, you're not even sure if it's the right band or
Yeah.
you're literally just like, well, Poland was a little bit more liberal in that they had liberal communism. Although communists hate liberals, weirdly enough, even though they're on the left, they hate liberals.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Poland was a bit more liberal in that they would actually allow some bands to, they would actually allow records in, but only a couple, you know. So,
So let's hear more tales about what not real communism is. You goddamn motherfuckers. I want you to go to a communist nation just once. See how long you live. I
yeah, I'd probably last about 10 seconds.
think one of the American communists would last maybe 2.3 seconds.
Yes, I would be fine until I said the word Burism.
Uh-huh.
Click, click.
Tributes will be paid to those who were executed, imprisoned, or ruined by the communist regime, and those whose only crime was that they did not fit into the narrow framework of the idea of class struggle.
I mean, granted, Euronymous was a communist, but he was only a communist because he liked how many people they killed.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he also liked the idea of people working together to do something. But that's, I don't know if that's really communist or just people working together. But he loved he basically, well, why are you guys Nazis? Communists killed more people than Nazis, morons.
Uh, Zoltan Kovacs called it unacceptable that communism nowadays is welcome with nostalgic enthusiasm in Western Europe, while we here in the Central European region, experienced on our own skins what it was like to live in oppression and fear.
Yeah.
That's your utopian paradise. We're going to fight oppression by oppressing people.
I mean, yeah, it was in East Germany, which is one of the more milder cases. There was a bootlegger who would, bootleg, and he got I think 10 years in prison for bootlegging metal records. Although Mayhem did play in Leipzig in 1990, but as you probably know, in 1990 everything was basically fucked, and the wall was going to come down any minute now. And so people were basically like, you know, the government had bigger problems than to, try and censor, you know, playing in
Hmm.
black metal bands.
And that's another thing you gotta remember. Let them censor everything. Okay, yeah, go ahead, keep fighting against it. I'll keep fighting against it. But at the same time, you have to remember the underground will rise up eventually. And the more silent something gets, the more power it's going to gain whenever a disaster happens.
Yep.
Remember, Hitler was imprisoned for treason. Nazis were forbidden to speak publicly.
And then,
And that was, before they kind of took office and wound up, a few million dead Jews. Yeah, that was an underground idea at the time. And it was censored as far as they could take it. And look at what the fuck happened. I
yep.
swear it's people trying to censor the Nazis actually want Nazis to take over.
Yeah, but I mean, and what it's also been is because German censors Nazism so much, um, the prevailing belief in from German Nazi circles is that, and I doth quote, they lost the war because Hitler was too nice.
Yeah,
Oh, that that scares me actually.
that is pretty damn scary. Fuck. Oh God.
That that actually, yeah. Uh, wow. I don't have words for that actually. Yes, they lost the war because Hitler was too nice. Jesus, what do you want? Like a Stalin robot, Mecha Stalin?
What we need is to have the genetic hybrid of the Fuhrer's DNA with Comrade Stalin's, and then force that into a giant Japanese robot with infinite rockets.
Hitler rises. His crimes are so vast. He was merged with your Jesus, right in the ass.
Yeah. But today he said, we live in freedom and security. We have a future we've chosen for ourselves in contrast to dictatorship.
Yep.
It's definitely going to be better than the shit you were under during communism.
I mean,
As part of Monday's commemorations, Budapest's House of Terror Museum will open to visitors all day for history lessons and guided tours.
I'd like to also point out here that Hungary was more of one of the more moderate um, countries in that F1 raced there in '86. So they weren't even as oppressive as some of the other ones were. Um, they tried to get a Grand Prix in Moscow, but yeah, that wasn't
Mhm.
going to happen. So yeah, they got a Grand Prix in Hungary in '86, and I remember. Well, I wasn't. I mean, I've watched on YouTube. Every driver was asked, "So what's it really like behind the Iron Curtain?" Because it was something
Yeah.
nobody had ever done.
And they only got the fucking, guided tour of all the best sites
Hmm.
to make it look like it was paradise. So they wouldn't see what was happening just one block over of every road they took.
The only racers that ever really broke free in like the 50s and 60s were speedway motorcycle racers. They came from Russia and actually won. But it was interesting to see, because until recently there were no racing drivers from like Russia or whatever until the wall came down. Well, okay, at least no racing drivers in international competition. I'm guessing they were in the Russian Rally Championship while racing fucking horrible ladas that broke apart within the first 10 minutes. My car's the only one still have with four wheels. I win.
And keep in mind, even you saying that this is one of the more moderate ones that was under the regime,
Yes.
the crimes against the people were so massive that they're holding commemorations to the disaster. To honor the victims.
Exactly. I mean, we're not talking as modern to say Yugoslavia, which was a non-aligned nation, and America, traded with it and all that. Remember the Yugo?
Yay.
I actually have a diecast of the Yugo, and true to its form, the mirror broke off because a working of just and I could have glued it back on, but I decided to keep it like that just because it's a broken Yugo. Anyway, so we're not talking about like I said, as modern as say Yugoslavia or something like moderate, but it was less oppressive than Russia.
Yeah. Commemorators are invited to light candles in memory of the victims of the regime at the Heroes Wall next to the museum, he added. The central commemoration will be addressed by Justice Minister Laszlo, I can't pronounce that, I'm not going to attempt to, Troxanyi, Troxanyi,
Okay.
and Maria Schmidt, director of the House of Terror Museum. The Hungarian parliament in 2000 declared February 25th a day of remembrance in memory of Bela Kovacs, General Secretary of the Independent Smallholders Party, who was arrested and deported to the Soviet Union on this day in 1947.
Okay, yeah, we're talking the 40s and 50s. By the 80s, it had calmed down a lot, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there were several periods of they tried to break free from the Soviets. The Soviets came in. Yeah, there were several periods of
Yeah,
strife, conflict. Welcome to, but these aren't real communists because communism is stateless. So we want anarchism
yay,
because
we want anarchy.
because when I was a kid, I was like, so how would people? Why would people work? Well, because they want to.
I work because I need money. If I didn't need the money, I probably would just be a slob and die of a heart attack because I never moved.
Yes. Well, yeah, I was a kid. What do you expect?
Yeah.
I didn't understand how the world works.
Venezuela soldiers abandoned posts at Colombian border.
Oh yeah, there's a yeah they the
We'll get into it. Soldiers from the Venezuelan National Guard have left their posts ahead of an opposition-led effort to bring aid into the country.
yes the
We were bringing you food. You don't have to eat your cats.
yes,
Just let us
the
in.
leader does not want to bring foreign aid because idiotic reasons, and so they were going to close the border,
Mhm.
which I thought was fucking stupid considering the shitstorm. But whatever. Maybe it got so bad. Okay,
We have
so
to prove socialism will work in this country. That we're
uh,
that our corruption is better than the other corruption, starving
it,
people to
it got
death.
so bad. There were a bunch of Venezuelan racing drivers who came on to international competition. None of them really did very well. I don't, but a couple of them were semi-talented, but they were all funded by PDVSA and Citgo money. And I was reading a story. So, what do you do when you're rich? Do you buy a Ferrari and rev the engine, and girls get wet and climb it, right? This guy
Okay.
bought him his own island with the money he had. He bought his own private
Yeah.
island. So that's the corruption that was taking place in Venezuela.
Yeah. Remember, kids, remember, kids, money is magic. Just print more of it. Then wonder why a loaf of bread goes from like 95 cents to $3,000 overnight.
What was the mark? I have a World War II, the Third Reich 3 volume history, and it tracked the inflation of the mark, and it
Oh,
was
God.
obscene.
Yeah, whenever they tried printing more money to pay off their war debts from World War I. Oh God.
If you want to know how bad it
It's
was,
no one. It's like they had to what, make a million mark note, or
if
was
you
it
want
just?
to know how bad it was, someone, let's say Jim, you sit down for a cup of coffee, right? And you see the advertised price is whatever 3 million marks. You get up to pay. Oh, a half an hour later. By the way, it's now 5 million.
Yeah, that's pretty much happens. Remember, money is magic. Just print more of it.
It got to the point where I forgot. I think it was like what 2 trillion Reichs or marks were with $1. It was something obscene. I'll have to look it up again, but it was it
Yeah, we're
was
coming up with bullshit numbers, but we know it was so massive. It's like, dear fuck. Guess what? You're a trillionaire, and you could buy half of a mosquito.
I know it was in the billions. And I'm not sure about trillions, but I know it was in the billions.
Uh-huh.
So yeah. Oh, and kids used to play with the money because it was useless.
In a separate development, Venezuelan troops have fired tear gas at people looking to cross into Colombia to work.
Yeah,
That's sad. You just got to leave your country to find a job. That's when you know you have failed.
bro.
Tensions have been rising over a row about the delivery of humanitarian aid. President Maduro said the border with Colombia is partly closed to stop aid from being delivered.
Which
We're giving you free shit. No, you filthy capitalist, you can't give us anything for free because you're capitalisty and all evil capitalism.
yeah.
But self-declared interim president Juan Guaido has vowed to that hundreds of thousands of volunteers will bring in aid deliveries, which include food and medicine.
Yeah, well, um I mean, we did the same. It's funny because yeah, we did the same thing to Iraq. Well, it was actually us doing that to Iraq. No, you're not allowed to have foreign aid. Fuck you.
The first delivery of aid has already entered Venezuela through Brazil. The delivery of aid to the stricken country has proven to be a key area of contention between the two men who see themselves as Venezuela's leader.
Well, yeah, it's also well, we want to save face, and we're not dying. See, look, we don't need aid. Which, yeah, you are dying.
Pictures at various crossing points show security forces firing tear gas at volunteers and protesters, burning outposts and throwing rocks at soldiers and riot police.
Yeah, chaos AD tanks on the street confronting police.
On the Venezuela Colombia border, at least 13 members of the security forces defected on Saturday.
Screw this.
I'm
I'm out
done.
of here.
I'm done. I'm just leaving. I don't give a shit anymore. This isn't worth my life.
No. Yes. So
A video posted on social media appears to show four soldiers publicly denouncing Maduro and announcing their support for Guido.
yes, because
We are fathers and sons. We have had enough of so much uncertainty and injustice, they said. Local media report people jumping the barricades to cross the border, while opposition MPs have posted defiant messages on social media denouncing the use of force.
which this is probably going to lead to a civil war. I mean, unless this guy goes down peacefully, it's going to lead to a fucking civil war.
Oh, yeah. Civil War, Civil War. All those yesterdays come before.
Yay. Civil War. It stimulates the economy somehow.
Yay. The BBC's Orla something, Guerin, at the Simon Bolivar International Bridge said Venezuelans were begging soldiers to be allowed to cross. Please, we're just bringing free food
Kill.
and free medicine. Fuck you, we don't want anything for free. We're socialists. We have to give it away for free. You're not allowed to bring anything for free, you filthy capitalists. We have to beat you to it, but you're not giving them anything. But that nothing is free. Opposition guy visited the bridge on the Colombian side of the border where he was accompanied by the country's president, Ivan Duque, whatever. Welcome to the right side of history, he told soldiers who had abandoned their posts, adding that the soldiers who joined them would be guaranteed amnesty.
In other words, you did the right thing. We're not going to kill you.
We want to work, people chanted as they faced riot police. Just give me a job. No, bam. Oh, I'll take anything. I'll be a professional ass licker. No, bam. Oh.
Jim is a professional ass licker.
Yay. Activists were joined by 300 members of Women in White, opposition group who marched in defiance of Maduro's attempts to close the border. Meanwhile, a top ally of President Maduro has suggested the government would allow Venezuelans to accept aid at their own risk.
Yes, you're going to accept aid.
At your... Go ahead, pick it up. There's nothing stopping you.
You're pointing a gun at my head.
Bang! He picked it up. I told him what was stopping him. He could do it. I just didn't say what would happen after. And now look, his brains are on the pavement. They wanted to run away. His brain just exploded on its own. I didn't pull this trigger.
That's why you didn't get in the military, Jim.
But that no foreign soldiers would set foot inside Venezuela. The president himself tweeted that there will not be a war, posting pictures of cheering crowds in Caracas, forced to cheer or else die.
I assure you, there will not be a war. I am positive there will not be a war. Please excuse me. I have to go into the secret room and talk to soldiers about tortillas and chihuahuas.
I love this statement. Take your hands off Venezuela, Donald Trump, he told crowds, accusing the U.S. president of using aid as a means to invading the country. It's your own people bringing it in. We're not setting foot in it. It's your own people who left the country, got some shit, brought it back, and are trying to hand it out for free.
I don't even think Trump knows what Venezuela is.
Yeah, I don't think he knows.
Venezuela.
It's just a word he knows and just uses occasionally.
Venezuela. That's that city in Italy that's on the water, right? No, that's Venice.
Here's your coloring book. He accused the opposition leader of being a puppet and an American pawn, a clown and an imperialist beggar.
Here we go, imperialism.
You're an imperialist beggar bringing us free shit.
Yes,
with our own people who came back just to give us food and medicine.
You're bringing us free shit because our country's in ruin and we really need it, but
A military outpost near the Venezuela-Brazil border has been taken over by a militia loyal to President Maduro. Earlier on Saturday, 2 people were killed by Venezuelan forces near the border with Brazil.
Well, that's fucked.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Well, the country's going to hell.
Yeah.
Well,
let's see what an imperialist invasion looks like. Florida man threatens to kill neighbor with kindness. The name of his machete.
oh, I'll kill you with kindness, motherfucker.
That is a face that makes all the panties wet.
How ugly.
Looks like your typical inbred, actually.
So,
So maybe
you?
it does. Huh?
So you?
If I was 200 pounds lighter, maybe.
Gotta love the self-deprecation.
Uh-huh. A Florida man is behind bars after he threatened to kill his neighbor with kindness. Kindness is what the 30-year-old suspect, Brian Stewart, calls his machete, according to police.
Well, yeah. I mean, why not?
I'd want to get a Dragon Slayer replica based off of the Berserk design that Guts wielded. Yeah, I want to get that and then call it kindness. It is
Yes.
far too large and bulky to be called a sword. It would be more apt to just call it a giant hunk of steel.
I want a broadsword.
Clang!
I still love the goblin with the broadsword. It's either you miss or you cleave in twain.
Uh-huh.
There's no middle ground here.
Stewart of Milton was arrested on Thursday for an incident that allegedly happened Wednesday evening. It began when 2 of Stewart's neighbors went to the suspect's house concerned about yelling and banging that had come from the home all day. Stewart came out of the house with an arm raised holding the machete, which had the word kindness written on it. One of the neighbors stepped in front of the other to block the blade and suffered a half-inch cut on his left hand. What the fuck? I'm just going by the voices.
Voices. The voices command.
The Santa Rosa Sheriff's Department was called, and deputies arrived and arrested Stewart. They said that Stewart's breath smelled of alcohol, and he had to be stunned with a taser before he was put inside a patrol car.
Yay. Never run.
Police also said he had to be hobbled after kicking inside the car and banging his head.
We had to cut his feet off.
Yes. He was just completely sane.
We had to dismember him. It was fun. I mean, because we had to.
Never mind the fact that we bought that Cooking Humans cookbook.
How to cook for a human.
Recipes from the Oregon Trail into California.
Cannibalism.
On Thursday, Stewart was booked into the Santa Rosa jail on charges of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon without the intent to kill and aggravated battery. He remains behind bars in lieu of a $10,000 bail.
That was several months ago, so we don't know where he is now. He could be drinking himself to death.
Yes, he could be drinking himself to death.
I hope he does. Because that's what I'd do.
All right, that's what we did here.
Drunk ourselves to death.
Yeah,
All right, is that all?
that is all.
All right. This has been the Swine Brothers Show, episode 166, for whatever day it is today. 26th, I think, of February 2019. You can email us at cosmicgodsdie at gmail.com. Questions, comments, insults. Facebook is Swine Brothers and Twitter is Swine Bros 666. And of course, you can leave a comment if you so wish. The comment section is there, people. Use it. For the gym, I've been Elliot Lindemood. We'll see you next time, folks.
When you send her a dick pic and 20 minutes later she sends you a screenshot of her friends roasting your dick.